Mic test. Check 1, 2.
Is this too bright?
I with my flash on.
Fine. Because it's really dark.
Yeah,
You know what you can do? Because that room is really dark. In there?
yeah,
They should have banged it.
they could have.
They should have.
They should have done it land-wise, yeah, or picked a bigger room.
Yeah. I was thinking
That's it.
about that. But I think. So the next time we'll look into it, see what's available.
We should turn Facebook into a medium.
I tried to talk into that.
That's my dream.
Because it's got the two exits. It's got the two ins and outs.
Tons of egresses that once you're out of the room, too. Do you think with the
That's what they're doing. It's all by associated.
for speaking up. So.
Yeah, I'm always going to have a picture of you, and I hope you are.
Good morning, everyone. Before we begin the Transit Commission meeting of June 17th, we will have our regular TransSecure Call of the Month. So during the month of May, we're going to be recognizing an OC Transpo employee who demonstrated compassion and concern for someone in need. Avant de commencer la réunion de la Commission de transport en commun aujourd'hui, nous allons rendre hommage à un employé d'OC Transpo qui a fait preuve de compassion et de préoccupation à l'égard d'une personne qui avait besoin d'aide au cours du mois de mai. This acknowledgement is part of the TransSecure program, which is a well-established community watch program on wheels. Cette reconnaissance s'inscrit dans le cadre du programme TransSecure, service mobile de surveillance communautaire bien implanté. Just past midnight on Saturday, May 9th, Paratranspo scheduling and trip assistant agent Stephanie was nearing the end of her shift when she received a call from a caregiver of an Paratranspo customer. The caregiver was worried because the customer had not returned home. With a heightened sense of urgency, Stephanie started looking into the customer's previously booked trips to verify the last trip taken. Being a former Paratranspo operator, Stephanie knew the customer and volunteered to help find them. Stephanie then completed her shift, and while on her own time, she drove to the same area. After searching for more than an hour, she contacted the caregiver to say that she was unable to locate the customer. Stephanie provided her personal contact information and asked that she be contacted when the customer was located. The next morning, Stephanie received a call informing her that the customer had returned safe and sound. The caregiver was extremely appreciative of Stephanie's personal efforts and assistance. I'm so grateful that Stephanie is here with us today, and I'd like to invite her to join me here at the podium. As Chair of the Transit Commission, I want to congratulate you, Stephanie, and thank you for carrying out your duty of providing a safe, secure, and reliable transit service to the Ottawa community. Your selflessness and caring actions demonstrate that what the TransSecure program stands for, and also reinforces OC Transpo's continued commitment to safety and security of our customers and the Ottawa community. It's my pleasure to present you with the May 2015 TransSecure Call of the Month.
Are you kidding me? I am very proud to be an OC Transpo employee. No, they can all hear me. I gotta make that.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 6th Transit Commission meeting of the Term Council for Wednesday, 17th of June. We've done employee recognition. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing no declarations of interest, we have confirmation of the minutes of May 20th, 2015. Carried. Thank you very much. Item number 1, which is the Customer Safety Incident and Reporting in 2000 Information Campaign. There is a presentation on this, so that will be held. Item number 2, Status Update, Transit Commission Inquiries and Motions for the period ending 5 June. Received? Thank you very much. Item number 4, capital adjustments and closing of projects, Transit City tax rate supported. Is this item received? Received. Thank you very much. 2015 operating capital budgets Q1 status report for transit. Received. Thank you. Hold? Yeah. Hold by Councillor Cloutier. Item number 6 is the term of council priorities, in which there is a presentation, so that will be held. So we will go back to item number 1, customer safety incident reporting and 2015 information campaign. Mr. Manconi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the Commission. I'm going to turn over to Mr. Scrimger in a moment for a presentation, but I just wanted to say a few introductory comments. When we had our first working group session with our stakeholders, someone from that group, and I wish I would have written down who it was, talked about defining success in our quest for safety for our customers, our employees, and the way they described it was Ottawa is a great community, and it's a safe community, and they wanted to see that community feeling extended to our transit services. So they coined the phrase community on the bus. And as a management team, as an organization, we're using that expression regularly. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there in terms of the context, because in terms of safety and security, we see that extension of our great city being infused into our transit organization and our service wherever we're operating. I want to thank a few people before I turn over to Pat. Joining me today is Jessica Golden, who you heard at this morning's session from Hollaback. Chief Special Constable Jim Babe is here. But I also want to acknowledge two staff members that have worked diligently on them. That's Mr. Pepper and Mr. Keith Duncanson, who are here in the room today. They've been at every single working group session, and they've helped manage this file. So, and I also want to thank our OPS partners. So I'm going to turn over to Pat for a presentation now.
Thanks, John. What we'll go through in the presentation today is some of the background, a look at the online incident reporting tool, which we launched today, a look also at the improved customer safety information on the webpage, which begins today, and the customer safety information campaign that we'll be rolling out this year. So by way of background, in July 2013, the Transit Commission received an update on activities related to the safety of customers and staff, which included talking about expanding the incident reporting system, working with stakeholders to develop a data collection process for safety and security issues, undertaking a public education campaign for customers, residents, and employees, and collaborating with our partners throughout the community to promote the safe environment on the transit system. And so we established the Safety Stakeholder Working Group in 2013. And that group, as John mentioned, is comprised of OC Transpo staff and key stakeholders from Women's Initiatives for Safer Environments, the Ottawa Coalition to End Violence Against Women, the City for All Women Initiative, the Sexual Assault Support Centre, the Ottawa Rape Crisis Centre, and Hollaback, Ottawa. And this working group meets regularly and has certainly contributed very substantially to the work that you're seeing today and overall to the work of enhancing safety for our customers. We also had a peer review panel from the American Public Transportation Association who came and looked through our safety and security processes and reported here on the results of their peer review in June 2014. So the new online incident reporting tool launched today will enable customers to report incidents quickly and thoroughly through their phone or through their computer if that's the route they wish to use. We accept reports from individuals, witnesses, or other people, and those people may, if they wish, choose to remain anonymous. We are the first transit agency in Ottawa to permit and encourage anonymous reporting. And our goal here is to encourage all customers to increase their reporting of incidents such as sexual harassment or any other unacceptable or illegal behavior. Some examples of the types of incidents that could be reported: verbal or physical harassment for any reason, harm or threat to harm a customer or staff, or vandalism to a vehicle at a park and ride lot, or just about anything else that makes people uncomfortable or feel unsafe. That online form is provided by a company called CopLogic, which has many clients across the U.S. and Canada. We're the first transit system to use this form. But it links in directly with our records management system that's used by our special constables as part of OPTEC, the Ontario Police Technology Cooperative. And this form is also used successfully by Ottawa Police Service, Toronto Police Service, and the OPP. And it's important also to note that the system keeps the personal information very safe. So I'll show you how that online incident reporting tool works, and you can try it yourself at octranspo.com at any time. So once you've selected the link from octranspo.com, this is the introductory page that gives you a bit of background and has the main 5 categories that we ask people to choose between, what type of incident they're reporting, and then down at the bottom, some of the legal and privacy matters that we need to advise people of. Once you've clicked on one of those 5 boxes, you can select these. It'll take you past this page that is another way of selecting between those 5 categories. And then to this page where people can enter their personal information should they choose to do so. And then on to the next page, which is where people say where the incident occurred. They have the ability to also attach any photos or other documents if there are any. And then they'll be able to, once they've described the incident, they get a feedback that says your report has been submitted, and how they can follow up if they have more they need to do. So that online incident reporting system is part of our new Safe Travel section on octranspo.com, and this is where we've bundled all of our customer safety information. From this page, customers can look at each step of their journey and get tips and instructions on how to be safe and things they can do, highlighting the various initiatives that exist. So to show you what that looks like as of today on octranspo.com, at the top right, that's a new section circled in yellow there, the new link to the Safe Travel section, which looks like this and has 5 major categories: planning your trip, waiting for your trip, boarding the bus or train, riding the bus or train, and then leaving the transit system. And for each one, it provides information. And you can see here in the middle the banner about reporting online. Now that takes you directly to the online reporting form we showed earlier. And here's some more pages showing some of that information. The next thing we want to talk about is the information campaign that's rolling out starting now to advise customers of this in particular, but of all the safety information, safety features of OC Transpo. So it's a new safety campaign that's starting now to encourage customers to let OC Transpo know of incidents that occur, whether they're on buses, trains, in stations, or anywhere on the transit system. And as we've talked about earlier, the goal of this campaign is to continue to have customers have confidence in our commitment to their safety. We'll make customers aware of the different ways to report incidents through several channels, including the new one. And in particular, the campaign will promote anonymous reporting, an important new feature that's been identified by the Safety Stakeholder Working Group. We'll encourage customers to remember that safety is OC Transpo's top priority and that no incident is too small to report. We ask customers to tell us about any experience that makes them feel unsafe or uncomfortable. And we'll also emphasize that it's easy to report incidents online, it's easy to use the Safe Travel section, and it's easy to use the online incident reporting form. So this campaign will appear on the cards in the interior of buses, also on transit shelters, in stations, in newspapers, and via social media. It continues to build on last year's campaign, which we labeled the Busology campaign, and it's part of a multi-year communication strategy for safety issues. You'll see the themes that we're using in this first phase of this 2015 campaign, and we'll be supplementing those in the months to come after we've had more discussion with other stakeholder groups such as youth, seniors, and LGBT customers. And here's a couple of examples of what the cards will look like above the windows inside the buses. And this is the one that talks about anonymous reporting. And Mr. Chair, that's the presentation, and if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scrimshaw. We do have one public delegation registered to speak on the item. Aaron Lay. Aaron, are you here? Yes, feel free, please, to come up, and you can come up right up to the front, and I'm sure Mr. Babe or Mr. Troy Charter will give up their seats for you.
Oh, thanks. My name's Erin Lee. I'm the Executive Director of the Ottawa Coalition to End Violence Against Women, and I formally added my name, but I'm also joined by Yami. Well, you can introduce yourself.
I'm Yami Canny Masosa. I am the Public Education Coordinator at the Sexual Assault Support Center of Ottawa. So, first of all, we'd like to thank OC Transpo, all of the city staff, as well as the key community stakeholders for all of the countless hours, countless meetings, tedious review of nuances and work that was put into this incident reporting form. For us as an organization, it's really important to note that because we are frontline workers and our expertise often goes unnoticed, in many community platforms, we do appreciate this platform to discuss, often stories that we hear from survivors as a frontline organization, the experiences on the bus, young women, marginalized women coming forward and saying, this is what I experienced, what is OC Transpo doing for us? And now we can confidently move forward and say there is an online reporting form, you can report anonymously, you will be believed, which is often something that survivors come forward and say, will we believed? Yes, there's this tool, but how can we move forward from this? So we really do appreciate that we have this platform and can move forward from there.
I'll just speak to a few of the pieces of the format of the online reporting form that we think are particularly important in terms of helping to address the experience of sexual harassment and gender-based violence in the public transit system. One, the importance of having an anonymous function on the reporting form is essential. We've heard a lot in the news about how, and this is the experience that we know from women that organizations work with, that those that experience sexual violence do not generally report their experience. There's a lot of complex reasons for that, not least of which is stigma and fear of not being believed. So the fact that there will be an anonymous mechanism, we are really, really supportive of. I'm delighted to see that. I think the other thing to bear in mind in this context is that once this is launched, and we do hope that the campaign does encourage people to use anonymous or other forms of reporting, that this will be a baseline moment where we will see who is reporting and get a sense of the experiences on the transit system more than we have to date. And by doing so, we may see what may look like a spike in incidents, but that doesn't necessarily reflect an actual increase in incidents, but may instead reflect an increase in trust in OC Transpo that it cares for the well-being of its riders. So I think that's really important, because when we do see stats about sexual violence, there are a lot of questions around this. And so I think that's something that moving forward we all want to be really mindful of, is that more numbers doesn't mean bad news necessarily. It could indicate trust in the system. The other piece is that there can be third-party reporting, which we also really, really support, because as the GM mentioned, it reflects a sort of community on a bus framework, which we promote and other anti-violence against women organizations promote, because what we're trying to do is shift responsibility on one individual to stay safe to it's the entire community's responsibility to help prevent violence from happening in the first place. And so the idea of having third-party reporting actually lends really well to this idea. And we actually urge the Transit Commission to consider as a potential next step moving forward is how can another public education campaign have funds tagged for that in the next year or two to specifically address this kind of issue. We've seen it with the province. They have demonstrated incredible leadership with the campaign #WhoWillYouHelp, and I think that if OC Transpo did that in the transit context, it would be incredible and really move this conversation in a very forward way. I do want to note that we're speaking on behalf of the community organizations, so Activa, Sexual Assault Support Center of Ottawa, Ottawa Rape Crisis Center, City for All Women Initiative, WISE, which is the Women's Initiatives for Safer Environments organization. And in terms of Cowie's work, what we really appreciate is OC Transpo's dedication to integrating the equity and inclusion lens in this context. So in the context of safety on transit, that means thinking about gender-based violence, sexual harassment. Yeah, so I think that's most of what we want to say, but I'll let Yami finish with some final thoughts.
No, that's good.
Yeah? We just want to make sure that folks that do report are believed, feel safe in reporting, and that we continue to provide appropriate support. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you both for all of your hard work on the safety working group. Are there any questions for the group? No? Thank you very much. Are there any questions to staff? Commissioner Crew.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions and then some general comments that I wanted to make. With regard to the online reporting tool, is there any functionality or envisioned functionality at which we will be able to map and show the public where incidents are being reported from, or is it not envisioned that the tool will include that?
The program will include that. You'll recall when we were talking about our 10-point safety plan, when you look at best practices, some agencies right now that publish, here are the hot spots or the areas that you want to pay attention to. So certainly Chief Babe will use the information to deploy his resources to if there's a spike or a hot spot, but also we want to inform the public so that community experience and that let's all take care of each other is ingrained in everybody's minds.
I certainly am glad to hear that, because I think it's as important that the riders be informed of areas that may be hot spots so they can make their own travel decisions based on that. And as is often the case, Mr. Manconi, you've anticipated my next comment, is I'm wondering if Chief Babe would be comfortable commenting on the manner in which he feels he'll be able to deploy his resources where hot spots show up. I'm just wondering if you've given much thought to what that will look like.
We are planning for that, so once we see the data, once we do all our intelligence and analytics on it, we certainly will look at possibly changing some shifts around so that we have extra officers in those peak periods and in those specific hotspot areas. So my management team is actually working diligently on that right now.
And we've heard certainly that we're anticipating there's going to be a spike of reported incidents. I would certainly re-emphasize that if we get a spike in reports now, it's because of the new online reporting tool, not because the number of incidents have gone up. I'm wondering of Chief Babe, if you feel that with what we know now, will your existing resources of officers be sufficient to redeploy your officers, or are you anticipating that there will be a need for additional special constables as a result of this tool?
That's something, once we look at all the analytics, I'd be better able to comment on, Commissioner. We're making great use of the resources we currently have, and as I say, once we do all the analysis, we'd be able to get back to you on that question.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. I do have just a couple of general comments. I kind of feel like this is one of the reasons why I wanted to be on the Transit Commission in the first place. Leering, street harassment, and groping are all too common in public spaces where strangers interact. OC Transpo certainly doesn't have any unique claim on being an environment in which that happens, but it is one such space. So I did have the privilege of attending a meeting 2 years ago at which Ken Kirkpatrick, the city manager, as well as Mr. Manconi, recognized the need to be responsive to feedback we were hearing from our customers and our role in combating these behaviors to the best of our ability. I think that the message that we are sending through implementing this tool, apart from the way that we're enhancing safety that we always focus on, but as Ms. Lee said, that we really do care for the well-being of our customers in all regards. And incidentally, too, I hope that this might have an effect on ridership, in that if we want people to feel safe on the bus, and I think this is encouraging it. The presenters from Ottawa both mentioned the fact that they felt responded to on this. I think that it's a fantastic model of how public advocacy, working in cooperation with an OC such as an organization such as OC, can have positive results. So not only do I feel that we've listened to them, they're entirely responsible for a lot of what we're moving forward with today. I have heard from a number of those community partners, and I wouldn't want to list them all for fear of leaving any one of them out, but that in particular on that safety stakeholder working group, that the efforts of James Babe as well as David Pepper were absolutely instrumental, that they felt respected and listened to, ultimately leading to the production of this tool. So I think the central message that no incident is too small, and that if you see it, see it. It just helps us to enhance our services. So I applaud this effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Crew. Commissioner Milner.
Well, I'd like to mirror my colleagues' thoughts here, but I have two quick questions. One, is there going to be a unique case number given to the reportee to follow up should there be more information, or a case number of some sort?
Mr. Chair, yes, there will be case numbers for every report that comes in. There'll be a case number assigned to it, and it will go back to, if the person self-identifies on the online reporting, they're given a case number that they can follow up with.
If they report anonymously?
If they report anonymously, the report's given a number, but it doesn't, because it's an anonymous report, it doesn't go back to that person.
Okay. And is there any plan to integrate this within the OC Transpo app that we currently have to make reporting quicker, easier? Because the one thing I did notice is that the OC Transpo site isn't overly responsive to mobile devices, and if we're asking to report right away, that might be.
Currently, the system on the app will provide a link, so that with your smartphone you'll be able to go to the form. The form has not been made specifically, for the app, because it's a off-the-shelf product.
Thank you.
But we have tested it with several types of smartphones, and it works differently on each type of phone.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Milner. Councillor Leeper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on a fantastic initiative. I'm looking forward to seeing how well it's used. Down in the weeds, just a titch, I heard the emphasis that Ms. Lee put on the anonymity of information. Just wondering, when people report, are we receiving things like IP addresses or anything that can be traceable? And if we are, what are our data retention policies with respect to any personally identifiable information?
That's a great question. I just want to assure the Commission we had our legal department integrated into this project, and including Rick O'Connor, to ensure that the privacy and all those integrity checks are in place. I'll turn over to Pat or others to comment on the IP component, but I just wanted to give Commission assurance that the whole confidentiality lens was applied with our legal department independent of the project, so they reviewed it to ensure all those checks and balances are in place.
And just to echo what John said, that all the information that's recorded of any detail is all kept in the strictest of confidence according to the applicable privacy laws.
Is it available to law enforcement should warrants be produced?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leeper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I think this is a great initiative, and one of the things I particularly like about it is all the stakeholder groups that you've reached out to turn this into a real partnership. And I think that was echoed by the comments we heard from the public delegation. My question is, in and of itself, this is a great initiative, but how are we gauging success? So a year from now, after this has been rolled out, we heard we may see a spike, for example, in complaints, which doesn't necessarily mean there's more complaints, but more trust. So what are your parameters or your indicators, Mr. Manconi, that this is working and that you don't need to make further enhancements a year from now, or you do need to make further enhancements because something is not quite syncing the way you thought it was going to?
That's a good question also. I believe there's a lot of inputs into that. First off, our annual survey, which is being revised, but we're going to continue to ask questions on safety and security. So we're at 90%, which is very high. And in my introductory comments at the media launch this morning was you always strive for better. So we'll certainly monitor that. We will have more data to do analysis and review and so forth. So when we hear concerns or issues, we'll be able to put data behind that and start to make informed decisions. And also, I do believe there is a direct correlation to ridership. If there's some people that choose not to take a bus at a particular time of night or location, perhaps our ridership might take a bounce. So there's multiple things that we're going to look at. The customer feedback on how safe they believe our system is an important one, and that's one that we've measured in the last 2 years, and we'll continue to measure it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aguilar. Are there any other questions or comments before we... No? Oh, Vice Chair Kakish.
Just a quick question. Currently, what was in place in terms of the reporting? How did people report these assaults, and how was that system relative? Because I assume we did have something in place, and how is it different than what's in place right now in terms of collecting that information and sending out that information to the public in terms of hotspots and that?
Before we had, you could call it in or email us. The problem was it wasn't integrated and there was no anonymous feature to it. So it was very cumbersome to get the situation, manage it to data, integrate with Ottawa Police Services and all. Now it's integrated, it's seamless, provides the data at the back end, and also you can do anonymous reporting, and it's multiple channels, as you've heard.
My God. There we go. Thank you very much, Councillor Kakish. Again, before we wrap up, I want to echo the amazing work that OC Transpo and the Safety Working Group have done together. And I think that's the most important thing to focus on, is that it was done together. I had the pleasure of meeting several of the members of the working group in a side meeting and then attending one of the working group sessions. And I can tell you that the members of that group are passionate about this issue. They are well informed about both the issue on the front end and on the back end, dealing with victims of harassment and victims of sexual violence and other crimes against women and crimes against everyone. And we need to emphasize always that when you're riding OC Transpo, you're a part of a community. It's the community on the bus. And whether it's happening to you or the person you're with, or if it's happening to the person 10 seats down that you don't know, we all have a shared responsibility to step up and speak up, whether that's at the moment or reporting afterwards. And that's why this tool is so important, because in addition to the anonymous reporting, it allows third-party reporting, so that if the victims are uncomfortable, unwilling, or maybe they don't think that they'll be listened to, or that it's something that they can or should report, if you see it and you think that you should report it, please. That's how we're going to get the data to have the special constables and the police do their job and keep us safe on the bus. So thank you again, everyone, for your hard work. I think it's exceptional progress over the last 2 years, and I look forward to continuing to working with the members of the group as we roll this out further. So on the item, carried. Thank you very much. So the next item which was held is item number 5, the 2015 Operating Capital Budgets Status Report. And we don't have a presentation on this, so I will hand over to Councillor Cloutier, since you asked for it to be held.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Thank you for the report. A couple of questions on it, please. There is quite a substantive variance from the budgeted from the budget we'd approved 5.2%. One of the big items is transit maintenance, and I know in the body of the report we refer to higher costs due to the extreme weather. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes. Although it's somewhat warm today, I would just want everybody to go back down memory lane and think about this cold, cold, cold. That's the key word. Cold winter we had. I know people like to talk about snow, but cold winter has an impact on our operations. So what we do when we have those extreme cold temperatures, Mr. Charter's team activates, there's 3 levels, 1, 2, 3, and what that means is when you go to the highest alert level, it means we have either cold weather or extreme snowfall or freezing rain coming our way, and so we mobilize on-call staff, tow trucks, bring in extra parts, mobilize our third-party vendors, and those costs add up. We also we had to do prolonged idling of our buses last year because of those deep, deep freezes. February was the coldest winter on record. And when it's cold, mechanical things break. So that's also this spike that we had. So we need to bring extra personnel in, and I want to commend the team because our bus availability in some of those very cold days was right up there in terms of our targets. So breakdown of components, bringing extra staff in, extra idling, extra resources, and then also on the facility side, colder temperatures, more heating costs, and more maintenance costs for our platforms and our stations and so forth.
Thank you, Mr. Manconi. Do you recall so you used the word cold several times, so we're not talking about snow like in 2007, 2008. Do you recall another winter where it was that cold or almost as cold, and did we see at that time the same jump in costs?
No, I've only been with OC for 3 years, but February from the stats was the coldest February in over 80 years from a reference point. And snow was down from the 30-year normals. But it was the cold temperatures that certainly hampered us. I can tell you that in the past there was some struggles with cold weather operations, and Mr. Charter and his team, Mr. Greer, who's in charge of fleet, came up with the 3 levels of mobilization of resources, which now make us a better performing organization in cold weather temperatures.
On the revenue side, we see a degradation of revenues of about $614,000. It's offset by increased advertising, but if we just look at the fare side, and it's broken down by lower ridership and by the change in which people pay. Are you seeing any change in what has changed? Are sale of passes up? Are more people using Presto, which has a lower price point as opposed to the cash fares? What are you seeing?
Yes, I'll get Mr. Scrimger to comment in a moment, but I think our customers are making some wise choices in terms of calculating, do I buy a pass or do I go to ePurse? And that was a feature that we advertised when we rolled out Presto in terms of the flexibility. It's also you can share your card, so we need to factor some of those, so we think that's affecting revenue. We continue to be concerned about ridership. We think the downward trend, we know the downward trend has stopped, but it's flat. So when you look at flat and wiser or different choices with fare options, that's definitely affecting our revenue line. Pat, did you want to add anything else? That's good.
Where we had talked about, when we approved the budget, we talked a little bit about fare evasion. We're not seeing, are we seeing any progress or any further degradation on fare evasion?
So I know that the chair spoke to me a couple of weeks ago about, okay, we've given everybody a good phasing in period for Presto. That was the mandate we were given. Let's start enforcing, particularly on ePurse, because there should be no excuse for you not tapping if you have ePurse. I can see if you've got a monthly pass and you forgot to tap. So we completed the necessary legal paperwork because our fares went up, and I will emphasize that again. If you're not If you're cheating the system, you will get a big fine. Mr. Charter started his blitz, and in 2 days we did 1,400 checks. 4 tickets were issued, 2 were Presto related. So we don't know if that's a trend. We're going to continue, but we are actively enforcing out there in terms of the warming up period is over. We're going to be blitzing throughout the system.
Just on the lower ridership, or you say it's flat, and let me echo my colleagues' comments on the initiative this morning and the safety of our customers. But any other plans to, we are about to face June 28th and the changes that are coming about. Other plans, other projects to regain the loyalty and the business of our customers through this period of change and moving forward?
Yeah, I continue to say that if you provide outstanding service, they will use it, and it's safe, reliable, consistent, all those things. I think some of the challenges we need to think about the challenges. We have high occupancy rate in downtown Ottawa. We have federal departments moving. We have the economy is the economy. We have the downsizing of the federal government. Bike lanes are very successful, and when you overlay Presto onto that, I think we've made it very flexible, and I think that's a good thing. We want people using multiple modes. Those are the challenges that we're facing in terms of the ridership, and the key drivers are the economic environment, the labor force, fuel prices also touch on that, and weather, all key drivers on that. So I think the best thing we can do right now is provide really, really good service, navigate people through those difficult changes that are coming on June 28th, be there to support them and the information that we're providing them, and help them in their journey. Pat, I think Pat wants to add a couple things on ridership.
One of the things that we can do to keep the transit system useful for everybody and make it more useful for people is continue to adapt the system as people's travel needs change. And the service improvements that were approved by you and by Council in the budget are coming into effect in a week and a half. And that's the additional service on Bank Street, the additional service on the commercial part of Hunt Club Road, additional service in Canada North, improved service in Stittsville, improved service in the south part of Orleans, as we continue to adapt the transit system to those new areas where there's new residential growth or new commercial development. There's also changes in where organizations have their employees work, and we've been in touch with several organizations, large organizations like the Department of National Defense as they prepare to move to Moody Drive, and smaller organizations, a couple of one government office and one private company that we met with recently. They told us that they were moving to another location. We worked with them and are adapting the service to just reorient where their customers are traveling, where their employees are traveling from where they are now to where they're going to in the future. And as long as we can keep up with that, we'll be able to serve those individual customers quite well.
Thank you. I can certainly speak to the responsiveness of OC to my community and to some of the special challenges that we've faced, and I appreciate that. You write in the body of the report, emphasized twice, these are first quarter results. They might change, and will provide a better indication. Historically, second and third quarter and fourth full year results, how much variance do we see?
Well, we're very proud that the last 2 years we came in on budget, and I've mentioned it before, traditionally OC struggled with that a bit. This year is not looking particularly good. We have some, when we tabled the budget, we talked about in this room about some of the risks that we needed to manage. One of them is parts on buses. You recall that discussion. Our bus fleet is new, as we've talked about, but it's a large chunk of it's coming off the warranty period, so we have large components, and now we have to pay for it. That one worries me. The ridership piece is a concern. So those two are going to be a challenge for us. We know that. We've been working with finance and with the city manager, and we're doing some mitigation measures. We're looking at vacancies. We're looking at all kinds of expenses and where we can ratchet back to minimize what that deficit can be at year end. But it's a challenge right now.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cloutier. Are there any other questions on this item? Seeing none, just before we go forward, I wanted to emphasize what Mr. Scrimger was saying. You will recall during this past budget, we approved over $1 million in service enhancements for Bank Street, for Barrhaven, for Canada, for South Orleans. And that's how we're trying to do exactly what you indicated, Councillor Cloutier, is continuing to improve the service to attract more customers. A memo has just gone out about the changes that are coming up in a couple of weeks, and you'll see another memo shortly thereafter about the service changes that service improvement changes that will come in place as of September to address the needs that we're receiving from customers and from councillors alike about where service should be, how frequent it should be, how big the bus should be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as Mr. Scrimger was saying, that's how we'll continually strive to improve the service for customers and attract new customers. It's also important for everyone to remember that you mentioned construction and conversion to light rail, which, yes, June 28th is going to be an interesting experience for all of us. We've invested heavily to bring more double-deckers into the service to maintain the reliability of the service for those affected customers and those affected communities. So seeing no other further questions, is this item received? Received. Thank you very much. Item number 6 is the 2015-18 proposed term of council priorities. I believe Mr. Box has a slide.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. So the term of council priorities, as members know, are aligned in accordance with council-adopted mandates of the standing committees and the Transit Commission. And so within the Transit Commission's mandate, oversight has been proposed for one strategic initiative to ensure reliable and safe transit services with an associated strategic initiative and 7 performance measures. So the descriptions of the initiatives and other relevant information, of course, is contained in the Appendix A, Section 6 of the report before committee today, and I'm happy to address any questions the committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Box. Are there any questions or comments related to the report? Commissioner Crew?
With regard to strategic objective TM5, in consultation with Commissioner Mello, who unfortunately could not be here today, we do believe it's important that that objective, effectively ensuring reliability and safe transit service, should reflect our affordability goal as well. So I have prepared a motion to address this, simply reading, be it resolved that strategic objective TM5, which is on page 94 of Appendix A, be renamed to ensure reliable, safe, and affordable transit services. And then in order to define affordability, with specifically the motion says, with the accompanying performance measure of ensuring OC Transpo remains consistent with the transit affordability plan. Would make that motion.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any commissioners or councillors who would like to discuss the amendment? Councillor Leeper?
Just to get some staff reaction to the motion and how you feel about that.
I support if there's alignment to the affordability plan. That should be the focus on that, and we can measure that.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or thoughts? See none on the amendment? Carried. On the report as amended? Oh, excuse me.
I have questions not relating to the motion.
Okay, and I forgot, we also have speakers, so I do apologize for that. So why don't we hear from our speakers before Councillor Nussbaum? So we have Heather Stretcher. Thank you very much, Heather, for coming this morning. You can press the button on your microphone and...
Unfortunately, sir, I am unable to understand what you're saying. I only have 50% of my hearing,
Okay.
just so you know.
No.
My name is Heather Stetcher, 1 T, only 1 R at the end. Just clarifying because I get Stretcher, 2 T's all the time. Anyway, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to address you with regards to the term of council priorities for the 2015 to 2018 term, specifically the priorities for transportation and mobility. There is a piece of injustice, of discrimination, which I need your help to fix during the budget process for 2016. Fixing this discrimination needs to be a priority for this commission and for this council. Allow me to explain. Those on the Ontario Disability Support Program, familiarly known as ODSP, have proven ourselves unable by medical condition to be able to support ourselves financially by working. So we are eligible for what is called a community pass. 2 years ago, that pass was $32 a month. That year, it went up to $35 a month. Last year, it was raised to be the same price as a senior's pass, $40.75. In 2 weeks, it will go up to $41.75. We live on less than $1,000 a month, sometimes substantially less than $1,000 a month. But here's the part that's discriminatory. This is my Presto card loaded with a community pass. If I have to use paratranspo, which many people under 65 have to because they were born with their disabilities, they have to not only hand the driver a working that month paid for community pass, they also either have to hand them a ticket, a bus ticket, or $2.05. So you have to have nickels around, which is a whole nother subject of rant. In 2 weeks, that will go up by another nickel. It will be $2.10. Seniors who pay the same as we do for our monthly pass are not required to pay that additional amount. Their pass is good for the entire para fare. That is discrimination. Additionally, they are given free transit use on Wednesdays. Now, I don't begrudge what the seniors are given, but those of us under 65 with disabilities that require ODSP are some of the most vulnerable citizens in this city. We are being punished because we became disabled either by birth or as life went along before we were 65. Many conditions, and I can give you examples if you would like me to, of people who cannot use the regular bus system, who will never be able to use the regular bus system. To have most of the costs of para being borne by the most vulnerable people in this city, except those without homes, is discrimination and outrageous. I need your help. when I contacted my counselor, who is Counselor Fleury, his assistant, Nathaniel Mullen, got back to me with a quote from OC Transpo as to why this was going on. Community pass holders, however, are required to top up at all times, as transit services do not receive a subsidy from the Community and Social Services Department for the community passes that are used on PAR. Now, I've known about political situations since I was born. And I suspect what is going to happen is the Transit Commission is going to blame community services, as they have here, and community services is going to blame transit. I need both committees to come together to solve this. People's lives are being diminished. People made choices not to come to this meeting to stand up for themselves because they can't afford to come because they have specialist medical appointments this month and they can't afford that extra $2. $2 sounds like a small amount, but trust me, it's a lot when you're on ODSP. I appreciate your attention and your time, and I look forward to working with you in solving this problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather. Are there any questions? Well, are there any questions for Heather or for staff relating? For staff? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation, Heather. Councillor Nussbaum.
Thanks, Chair. The issue that was just raised is one that's been raised in my office by a couple of my residents as well, and I think I have some understanding of what the issue is, which is that the community pass was offered to disabled residents who are not on ODSP, and I think as an incentive to use the regular transit system, and then the additional ticket was added because of the demand volume. And I guess the question for the staff is, would there be a way in the issuance of the community pass to distinguish someone who's on ODSP from someone who's not on ODSP? So is there a way to get at the fact that the ODSP community pass holders are in a different financial situation, likely, than the community pass holders who are not on ODSP?
Mr. Chair, that might be possible to do. At this point, the fare policy adopted by the Commission by Council is that people who are eligible to receive a community pass receive a community pass, and that eligibility is to people who are either registered under ODSP or registered with Paratranspo, and the community pass provides for a discounted fare on conventional OC Transpo service, but does not provide a discounted ride on Paratranspo service. So the additional amount that someone pays when using the community pass on Paratranspo is to bring that fare back up to the regular fare as the Commission and Council decided. To put it in context, the community pass was a new discount that was given to people who are either ODSP recipients or Paratranspo registrants starting in 2003. Before that time, those customers would have had to have paid the same fare as anyone. So it's a new discount that's available these last 12 years. If there were to be a change in fare policy in the future, we'd find a way of administering it. If those two groups had their fares changed, we would find a way of administering that. But if there was a thought of a new discount or a deeper discount for some customers, we still have to bring in the fare revenue to follow the affordability plan, and that would mean higher fares for somebody else.
Thank you for the answer. And I know we're not going to deal with this issue now, but I'm just wondering, logistically, could a community pass be distinguished between a community pass holder that is on ODSP versus a resident who is not?
If the fare policy were that different fares applied to different groups, we would find a way of administering that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Scrimger. Commissioner Milner.
Just to follow up to that question, do we have any sense of how many individuals on community passes are also using paratranspo when they're on ODSP?
Yes, we do have that information. Don't have it here today, but we have all those records.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Crew?
Mr. Chair, without wanting to seem at all insensitive to the issue, I am wondering about the way that it relates to the item that's on the floor now, which was with regard to the term of council priorities. Given that we just struck a working group dealing with various aspects, I'm wondering if various aspects of paratranspo, I'm wondering if this issue isn't something that might be referred to that working group to deal with and perhaps bring back their recommendation.
Certainly, I think this is an item that should and will very likely be discussed by the working group on paratranspo. Yeah. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just one minute.
Yeah, we have one more speaker. Kathleen Forte and Nahid Khan from Cowie. Whichever is closest for you. So if it's closer to come over here, if that's most convenient, please feel free.
Good morning. Member of the Transit Commission, my name is Nahid Khan, and this is my colleague Kathleen Fortin. We are here today representing Making Vote Count, where we live, a project co-sponsored by the City for All Women Initiative, Curry, and the Coalition of Community Health and Resource Center.
We are here to speak to the draft term of council priorities that are before you today. In particular, we are here to highlight the important commitment made by the Transit Commission in 2011 to use the city's equity and inclusion lens when developing transit policy so as to ensure that the system is accessible to everyone. We are pleased to have the opportunity to provide you our input to you as you make decisions that affect the lives of Ottawa residents, particularly those on low income.
We wish to recommend that you expand Objective TM5 to ensure reliable, safe, accessible and affordable transit services.
We would like to give you some examples from our own lives to show how important accessible, affordable transit is to our health and well-being. Such accessibility and affordability can be developed when the Commission honors its commitment to the equity and inclusion lens as it continues to serve Ottawa residents.
Again, my name is Nahid Khan. I'm single mother of 4 on ODSP and have been on the waiting list for social housing for 5 years. While I am eligible for a community pass, I must also buy 3 bus passes every month for my children. Like many young people who immigrate to Canada, my children were put back 1 or 2 grades when they arrive here while they learn English. 2 of my children are now over 18 and are still finishing their education. They have taken out student loan to do this. They work part-time in addition to their studies in order to contribute to our rent and other household. Once they turn 18, my children are no longer eligible for student bus passes and must buy a regular adult pass, which is much more expensive. I know of a number of immigrant families who are also facing the extra cost burden. If a student pass were made available for all students, regardless of age, this would provide some financial relief for those young people and their family who are trying to make a better future for themselves. Thank you.
Again, my name is Kathleen Forte, and I'm here to talk to you about the significant rise in transit fares for persons with disabilities. When the price of the Community Pass was raised by 16.4% in 2014, well beyond the rate of inflation, to bring it to the same level as the Senior Pass. I use OC Transpo and Paratranspo to get where I have to go in my daily life, to medical appointments, to fulfill my volunteer responsibilities, to get groceries and more. In the summer, I am able to use OC Transpo with my walker, but in the winter I have no choice but to use Paratranspo because of the snow and ice. When I do use Paratranspo, I have a top-up fee of either one ticket or more than $2 with the Presto card or cash over and above my Community Pass. My ODSP payments have certainly not risen by 16.4%, and so the cost to me of getting around is getting increasingly harder to afford. We recommend the term of council priorities draft document for recognizing in the Healthy and Caring Communities, HC section, that advancing equity and inclusion for the city's diverse population is part of the community's well-being and a good quality of life. Safe, reliable, affordable, and accessible transit services are a key part of an equitable, inclusive, and healthy community. This fact should be reflected in the wording of Objective TM5 as we work together to create a city for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Just looking to members of the Commission, are there any questions or comments to the presenters? Seeing none, thank you very much for coming this morning. I just noticed on the motion that was already adopted by Councillor, or put forward by Councillor Crew and adopted by the Commission, the word affordable was inserted, but not the word accessible, and I'm wondering if there's consensus to include the word accessible in there as well. Is there consensus amongst the commissioners to include the word accessible? Does staff have a comment on that?
I have no problem including that. The challenge will be measuring that. We have 100% accessible low-floor bus fleet. All the rail cars are 100% accessible, and paratransport, the new vehicles. So just when we report back on that, it'll be 100%. Just letting you know that.
That's a fair point. Commissioner Crew, do you have any thoughts?
Well, if we're destined to achieve it, I don't see any reason not to include it as a goal post along the way to keep our eyes on.
Oh.
So I'd certainly amend the motion. I'd certainly amend the motion if that's the easiest way to do it. If you want to propose a separate motion, that's certainly within your purview too.
Perfect. So why don't we do an amendment? Is there any see consensus on that? Okay. So the TM5 will read, ensure reliable, safe, affordable, and accessible transit services. So Councillor Nussbaum had questions on the report.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my questions actually relate to the performance measures. I think the objective is very clearly stated, and the amendments make a lot of sense. But I just a few questions with regard to TM5A through to C. The first question is the TM5C reads, maintain sufficient service capacity standards at 100% to carry all transit customers through the end of 2018. I just wasn't sure what that meant exactly. I'm on page 94 of the report, if that's helpful.
Mr. Chair, one of the things that we do regularly is monitor ridership on every service at every time of the week. And one of the things that we will always do, and that this is where we'd report it, that we ensure that there is no route that is regularly overcrowded, that is carrying more people than 100% of its capacity at any point on its route, at any time during the day, on any day during the week.
Okay, so it's another way of saying make sure there's enough buses to serve the people on all the routes. Is that the layman's way of saying it?
Because our budget is fixed by council, it will be, I would describe it more as ensure that the service capacity is provided in the right places and at the right times, that we're allocating it properly across the system.
Okay, thank you. My second question just relates to, I guess, TM5A and B in particular. I noticed, sort of looking over the last term of council scorecard, that over the previous term of council, the performance measures used by OC Transpo were objective ones. And so, if I can find it here in my notes, looking at the total ridership per revenue service hour, looking at the proportion of seats available, and so on. And then this time, the proposed strategic objective performance measurements are subjective, looking at customer and resident confidence and for both, which I don't have a problem with, but I'm just wondering, why was the decision made to abandon objective measurements? And I guess the one that I would be most interested in considering is increasing or improving our on-time performance. I think particularly in light of the challenges that you outlined at our last meeting, maybe in the off-peak hours, because I think you've said that on-peak on-time performance is difficult given congestion. But I'm just wondering if you can comment on that. Would it make sense for us to balance the subjective performance measurements with something objective in line with this notion of city transit service that's reliable, as we say in the strategic objective?
Mr. Chair, our view is that as we strive for the corporate goal of service excellence, that what we need to focus our attention on is that the service is good in the eyes of the customers who use it. There are a number of things that would go into someone's own assessment of whether they are satisfied, whether they are confident in OC Transpo, and whether they find it reliable for them. There are probably many measures that we could do that would speak to different technical aspects of what constitutes reliability, confidence, or satisfaction in our customers' minds. But we think that the true way to know what our customers think about our service is to ask them and to react and to probe into their views if they have views that are new to us or that are different from those that we in the operation might put our first attention to. When we can find ways of aligning our technical and operational measurements with the views that customers hold, and if we can find ways that there are particular aspects that we can manage that bolster their satisfaction, confidence, or their sense of reliability, we would of course do those things. But we think that the overall top number is, are you confident, are you satisfied, do you think your service is reliable? For TM5A, and for TM5B, do you feel safe and secure when you ride on OC Transpo?
Yeah, I guess my reaction to that would be there's no question that subjective measurement is important, and for instance the confidence rating of 71 is very solid, but I guess the question is we don't know through subjective measurement of that one alone, of TM5A, how do we improve for the 29% who are not in that category? What are the concrete measurements that we know of that we can get to in order to get that number up? And I mean, I used on-time performance as one example. Clearly in 2010, you had your own ideas, which struck me as highly reasonable. So you've decided to make a shift from what you were putting forward in 2010 to now, but without knowing, again, whether we are improving the reliability of service in our performance measurements. That 29% or whatever that number will be a bit of an unknown to us, and we'll simply know what the subjective measurement is without knowing if we've achieved those four objectives, right? The safe, reliable, accessible, affordable. So it might be worth considering. I know we've got a couple of weeks, so we don't have to do this now, but it might be worth considering a way of introducing some objective measurement that you think would be valuable to the improvement of your service to balance with the subjective ones. But we don't have to pursue the item now, Chair.
Fair enough, but I think Ms. Manconi wants to respond, so.
I want to say that's excellent feedback, and here's where I think that dialogue should occur. Not here, because the discussion you're having relates to the new performance measures that we're going to shape. So I know Mr. Scrimger's meeting with Commissioner Burt. They're going to come and see you. I think that's where you should shape that discussion, because the reason on-time performance isn't on here is because we're retooling all those performance measures as we talked about at our last commission meeting, because we want to have those levers to push and pull. And just a reminder, the ones you're referring to here at the objective level, if you dive deeper onto that, if you go to page 95, that's at the initiative level, and those are more specific to the initiative, which is really the mission of, transit services in the next 3 years, is to go to the multimodal operation. So, Councillor, I agree with all your comments. I think the place for that is in the new performance measure scorecard that we're going to be reporting both publicly and regularly to yourself, so that you can have the information to guide us on which levers you want to push and pull. And on-time performance in a meaningful way, and in an accurate way, and in a reliable way is one that we want to shape with you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, is the item as amended carried? Carried. Thank you very much. There are no in-camera items. Are there any inquiries? No inquiries. There's no other business. Adjournment. Carried. Thank you very much.